Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Akibatun lil Mustaqim. Wala Radwana ila ala Dalimeen. Muhammadan huwa Sayyidina Mekbubana. Inhu Sayyidin Mursaleen. Salawatu Allah Ta'ala wa salamu alayhi. Salamu alaykum rahmatullah barakatuh lil ikwani wa khwati fi din. Wassalamu ala mani taba huda. للإخواني وأخواتي في أفريقيا وأوروبا وأمريكا والكاريبيان وكل مكان. أهلا وسهلا بكم, my dear brothers and sisters. Thank you for showing up, and those who will show up maybe in the future, inshallah ta'ala. And I wanted to tackle this subject because I saw something on YouTube the other day that gave erroneous information about the rights of Muslim women to marry non-Muslim men, and also for Muslim men to marry Christian, Hebrew, Jewish women. And the information they gave was erroneous. And I had many followers who well, not my followers per se, but many their followers should say, that were delighted at the news that they were given, because some said that they were in relationships already, mostly with men, with they were Christian women, and that now they were sanctioned because of the erroneous information that was given by this one imam, and then this other lady who said that she was a scholar. And I never heard of her. And what she said was absolutely out of this world, because she said there was nothing in the Quran that stops a Muslim woman from marrying a Muslim man. I mean, a non-Muslim man, and that's not that's false. So I decided to do this subject, but not only that, I wanted to clear it up, because this relationship between the Muslim and the American woman or European woman, mainly the Tubab woman, but black as well, and she's Christian and Jew, Hebrew, and this relationship has been growing, and it's a detriment to the Muslim Ummah, and we'll get into that. And secondly, I wanted to do this because many of our brothers from the continent here, Afro-Arabs, the black Africans, even from Jazira Arab, the so-called Middle East, come to the United States. And I don't know what's happened when they enter the United States. Again, they end up having relationships with non-Muslim women, and some they marry. Mainly these are Tubab women. And so this situation is taking a turn to where it's a detriment. And I understand our brothers, our young brothers who come to Islam. They want to marry. They want to fulfill their obligations as a Muslim, and they want to marry, and they don't want to get entrapped in trials and tribulations of life of America, and get involved with women, and get trouble. And so they, out of desperation, they find Christian girls who they assume would be okay, because they were told that they can marry a Christian woman, and so they do. And many of them regret that decision, and many of them, are really hurt by it. So let's get into this here. The proofs of the proofs of Muslims can marry the Christian woman is true. On a general basis, Subhanahu wa ta'ala has authorized us to marry the Christian and the Jews, Hebrew women. No doubt, we can marry. No doubt, that generalization is there. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained it. And we have many Muslims in past, and way back past, that did marry Christian women and whatnot, and fathered children and so forth by these women. And so we look at, on a face value, it is true. You can marry the Christian woman. But let's get into some things here. Why the situation is not as easy as we have been made to believe that it is. It is very easy. You see a Christian woman, you like her, she's appealing to you, so you go and you marry her. This is not the case, my brothers and sisters, unfortunately. And these surahs here that I give you are the proofs that suggest and highly suggest that you should not do it and you cannot do it. Okay, let's look at number 5, verse 5, Surah Ma'idah. Remember, we talk about Surah Ma'idah a lot. Why? Because this is the governance. This is the Islamic governance surah. We call Surah Hakimiyah. Okay, because here many laws, rules are given in this particular surah. And here we go again. Here we have something about what we're authorized to do. And so Surah 5, Surah Ma'idah, and then the verse is 5. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the day are all things good and pure made lawful unto you. The food of the people of the book. The people of the book, who? The Christians and Jews. Is lawful unto you, and yours is lawful unto them. Lawful to you in marriage are not only chaste women who are believers, but chaste women among the people of the book. Now, stop here. Chaste woman. Okay? Yes, people of the book. But this is where our brothers are faulty, because they seem to ignore this chaste part of the woman first. They ignore this. They just say, oh, the people of the book, subhanahu wa ta'ala, ordained me to marry the Jewish girl. My girlfriend, I've been dating her 1 year, 2 years. I saw this girl in college. She's a pretty two-out girl. And, I think I want to spend the rest of my life with her. And I'm authorized to do it because it says here in the Quran. Yes, but it says chaste. Chaste woman. So then it says, reveal before your time when ye give them their due dowries and desire chastity. Now, subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us some clues about the people of the book, because we know this is a problem in their community. And part of that problem is chastity. I was looking at one of our biggest students of knowledge, Zaki Naik. He was talking about this subject, and he made a good point. He was talking about, because he does a lot of statistical studies and also comparative religions with Islam and so forth. He made a comment about when he went to this one seminar. He was saying that in Bombay, that majority of the girls between the age, I forgot what age, but they were very young, were losing their virginity. He was also saying that in the West, upwards to 90 to 95% of the young women have already had sexual contact. So here, the desired chastity, not lewdness, nor secret intrigues, because again, this is a known fact. And let me preface this, my brothers and sisters who are Christians. I'm not trying to damn you here or talk against you, because you're doing exactly what you're allowed to do under American law. You do that. I'm not questioning that. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm talking about Islamic law, and I'm talking about our brothers, the Muslim brothers, and our sisters, the Muslims, the Muslimah. This is what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about what Subhanahu wa ta'ala says about this. And that's it. I'm not going against anybody, but I have to say what Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and what he ordains, what he doesn't ordain. And what our prophet ordains, then that's what he ordains. And I say it again, as I always say, Innani aqulu ma yaqul. I say what it says. I don't back away what Subhanahu wa ta'ala says for political reasons or something like this. If Subhanahu wa ta'ala says here that you can do it, but the woman has to be chaste, I echo what he says. And here he says that the woman should be desired chastity, not lewdness, and nor secret intrigues. The problem we have, again, brothers and sisters, we have Muslims who marry Christian girls. And they don't follow the Sharia Islamiyah. So when he looks at her, she's going to go out. Here she's dressed in provocative clothing with her outer ornaments exposed to a degree where you know they're there and you see them quite well, especially the genitalia area with the type of pants they wear. You can see the outline and so forth and so on. What can he say to her? He's living in the United States. And if you do get rough with her, she could call 911, which many are doing, all Muslim brothers. And when the cops find out he's black and he's Muslim, or he's Arab and he's an Afro-Arab and Muslim, you in trouble, brother. Either you get shot or you get put in jail, and they'll try to find something, or they try to provoke you, because they'll see a two-bob woman and they'll see a Afro-Arab, or they'll see a black man, and then you have problems. And then when it gets down to it, I'm married to him, but I ain't married to this Quran. I don't follow that. And this is, I'm living in America. I'm not living in Saudi Arabia, so I can walk out the house and do what I want. This is what's happening to many of our brothers today when they marry the Christian girl in particular. Not only with the two-bob, but African-American women too, they're doing the same thing. Many are doing the same thing. Brothers marry African-American women who are so-called quote-unquote Christian, and they have the same problem. And under the Sharia, he's supposed to have the power of say, where she's supposed to get his permission to go out. And it's not like slavery, but she says, hey, I want to go to McDonald's and I want to stop by Kmart and so forth and so on. And husband's, okay, sweetheart, you got the keys, but be careful, and so forth and so on. Here, they don't need to ask nothing. They just go, and they wear provocative clothing, and they, wear perfume. And many, even in their phones, what I've understood, from what I've gathered, many of them continue their relationships with many men that they should not be carrying. And the man can say nothing. The man say, hey, sweetheart, you're my wife now. We don't allow this in Islam. Look, hey, I'm a Muslim. You can't tell me what to do. These people are my friends. I ain't sleeping with them, but these are my friends. This is why you got to be careful for what you wish for. So here, subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you, no secret intrigues. If any rejects faith, fruitless in his work, and hereafter he will be in the ranks of those who have lost. Brothers and sisters, especially my brothers right now, we're talking about you. You could be of loss. And we don't know what subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to say to you when Yom Al-Qiyamah, if you die in this state, where you married an unchaste woman. Yeah, you said, hey, I'm authorized, she's a Christian, but you forgot about the chaste. See, so you have to be very careful of that, brothers. Please be very mindful of that. And if you understand what subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking you, he will say, and you look at other verses, I'll go over some. He says that even the lowest, like a woman, she's very poor from a poor side of town, but she's a Muslimah and a practicing Muslimah. She's better than that two-bob American woman, or that other African-American woman who is beautiful body, fragrant, scented woman, so forth and so on, a lot of makeup, very alluring. She's 100 times better than this woman, because why? She believes in subhanahu wa ta'ala. She enters the marriage wanting to please subhanahu wa ta'ala. She entered the marriage so she wants to please her husband, and she wants to get the ajr, the credit for her marriage to her husband. And see, this is a big difference. Even though she's from the poor side of town, she may not be as pretty as that two-bob woman that you want to marry. But when she step out of the house, she talks to you first. When she steps out of the house, she has a hijab and she's properly dressed. Your children, when she has your children, those children will be raised as Muslims. These Christian girls and Jewish girls will not raise your children as Muslims. And most likely, if it ends up in divorce, what's going to happen. The judge sees you, he sees Islam, and he already has a bias. He's going to take you over the coals, which you see this now. We find many Muslim men have lost their young boys, sons, gone, after the wife has lied about they've been involved in, they said they're involved in terrorism. They said that they were involved in contacting certain groups that are prohibited under the U.S. law when it's a lie. She said she heard many times secret conversations between her husband and people from the Zir Arab, the Arab Middle East. All this stuff goes into an affidavit. It's a lie. And when they get that, the court is inflamed. They restrict the father from seeing their boys. Now the boys will be raised as Christians. This is why it's a dangerous proposition, brothers, when you marry these women. Be very careful and learn what Subhanahu wa ta'ala says here. The chase is important. Chase has a lot of meanings to it. None is authorizing the woman to be naked walking around in the street. Lewdness, okay? Third, dating, provocative stuff that's going on. Like he said, secret intrigues. You know something's going on, you see her. She comes in a house, the phone rings, she runs upstairs, and she closes the door and locks it. So you can't hear her and you can't come in the room. Or she steps out of the house and then she's on the phone. You hear the man's voice talking. She says, I'm getting ready to meet you. I'll meet you over there at 7 o'clock. She comes back at 1 a.m. These things are happening to our Muslim brothers today who marry these women. And again, I'm talking Islamically now. I'm not talking about the American way of life in this sense. You can do what you want. I'm not saying that you're wrong. No. In Islamic principles, you are wrong. Here, I'm talking for the brothers to be mindful of that. Subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want our brothers to be married to this type of woman. Bottom line, the American system said, no, there's nothing wrong with her. You carry on in your system. We're not, that's your business. We're talking about Muslims marrying women into that. We have to guard them because this is our religion. So we have to do that. Now, let's look at what our scholars have been saying. Surah 5 declares we can, if she is a chaste woman, as I said, minimum requirements that she should be virginal. This is the other thing our brothers don't realize. You marry a woman that's been driven through maybe 30, maybe 40 times, some even 100. And you don't know how many mates she have. And you don't know what is looming in the genitalia area. You do not know. Even though you've been dating this woman, you shouldn't have been dating, but you date this woman and you like her in bed. She's not eligible if she's not a virgin. And let's get into this. You see, I used the word virginal. I didn't say virgin. Why I say that? Because what's happening is the American Western system, the girl can play around. She has her dates, she can kiss, there's petting, the man, he can touch her, but he's not penetrating her. She's not chaste. Because a virginal woman is pure, period. No dates. She has not been touched. I'm not talking about sexually touched, meaning down in the genitalia area. I'm talking about her private areas, her breast, and so forth and so on. She has not been touched. This is a chaste woman. She's virginal, meaning she is completely clean. No man has touched her, period. How many Western women can meet this category? Very few. Very, very few. Even in Europe, you're not going to find that. Very, very few. Even in India, Zaki Knight was talking about the same thing. He said, you can't find it. It's hard. You go to a girl, you look at her, she looks to be this, this, this. When you get to talk to her, she's had many relationships. And if she didn't, she said, yes, I'm virgin. I never had penetration. But what happened, of course, when I started going on dates, I let the man touch me. That, you're not chaste. She's not eligible for marriage as a brother. I mean, as a Muslim, as for the Muslim man, she's not eligible. Now, this is another part of this. She cannot be a polytheistic follower. This is a problem that we have. And I'm going to get into the Hindu women in a minute here. But she cannot be this. Again, this eliminates many so-called Christians because why? They have their concepts that are not from Jesus alayhi salatu salam. These are the concepts that were created by the Tubab, theologians who decided to add the Trinity and to make Jesus white on top of that, and to change the Torah and the Sharia of the Jewish law to fit their ideals. And so you have people who are this way. I'm talking about women. You cannot marry her. You cannot marry her, brothers. I'm sorry, you just cannot. This is something that you must be very, very cognizant of. No, I don't want this one. Excuse me. Okay, yeah, here we go. There's Surah Ma'idah again, and there is Surah Ma'idah number 72 and 73 is the reason why, again, she's not eligible, because Subhanahu wa ta'ala has already said what they are. He said, yes, you can marry a chaste woman among them. But he's giving you other places in the Quran to show you the ones who are not this way. I'm giving you proof not to marry them. They do blasphemy who say Allah is Christ, the son of Mary. They say this. How can you marry her? This is a mushrikah. How are you going to allow her in your house, Muslim man, and she's practicing the Trinity? You cannot. You're forbidden to even get close to anything like this. Anything that can jeopardize your faith, your iman, you're supposed to stay clear of it. So here, Subhanahu wa ta'ala has told already, hey, you cannot. If this is what they believe, stay away from that. Now, the Hebrew. Let's look at the Hebrew woman here for a minute. I mean, excuse me, the Hindu, the Sikh, Brahma, the Buddhist. They are not eligible. Period. Now, let me say something to you. You can find chaste women among them, and they're Hindus, and they're Sikh, or they're Brahma, or they're Buddhists. And you'll find them, and there are many. They're in Malaysia, they're in Thailand, Cambodia, Laos. There's many, China. No man has touched them. And they're good women. But their belief system makes them ineligible to marry. Whereas you can marry the Christian woman and you can marry the Jewish Hebrew woman. Yes, you can. That's authorized by what Subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people of the book are the Jews and the Christians, because they're closest to us. The Hindus are not. The Buddhists are not. The Sikh are not. They're not. They're not close to us in relationship. They're mushrikeen, big time mushrikeen. So you cannot marry, even though there's many of their women who are chaste. I mean, chaste, big time. I mean, some of them are 20, 21, 22, never went out on dates, never been touched by men. No man has ever kissed them. No man has ever touched their private parts. There's no situations whatsoever, and there's no dating. There's many of them like that. But here is a saving grace for some of the brothers who have desire for these women in this region. And we see in them coming to Islam now in droves. Yes, in droves. When she takes that shahadatain, now she's eligible, brother. You can marry her. That Hindu girl that you looked at, or this Buddhist woman that you found in Thailand, or you found her in Laos, or you found her in Malaysia, is now eligible for you to marry when she takes the shahadatain. So there's a big difference. Now you see the picture, my brothers and sisters. The Christian girl, the Jewish girl, you can marry her if she's chaste, straight out. But there's no mention because they're not the people of the book. The Hindu girl is not. only way you can marry her, she has to convert, period. She has to revert to Islam. There's no doubt. She has to do this. And we see many of them are doing that. And we find many of these brothers who marry these girls, they're in good hands because these girls were already chaste from the beginning. So when this brother brings her to the household, she's already protective of her body and her honor. That's what you want as a man. Every man will tell you that. A woman who protects her honor is a treasure. So some of these women already have this. So this brother marries this Hindu girl. She's already got these traits. Now it's off and running. She's a mild Muslimah. It's easy for her to transfer over. There's no problem because half of the battle is the tribulations of the sexual misadventurism and the sexual trials and tribulations that are happening in the world today. Those women have been free of it. So you have something going there. Now, Now, the Muslim woman, the Muslimah, cannot marry a non-Muslim man. Surah 60, verse 10. They did not mention this fact. And that's very funny that they didn't mention this fact. Because remember I went over this surah here and I went over this verse talking about remember when the Muslims were now in a treaty with the Quraysh, the pagan tribes. They had this mithaq, they call this, between them. It was a 10-year mithaq, the agreement. And this agreement allows for certain transfers and so forth and so on. Now, when the girls come over, women came over from Mecca into the Medina, Subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered them to be checked out. I talked about this. If it's found that she's a Muslimah, she cannot be returned to what? A non-Muslim because she is not authorized. Now, these so-called modern woman scholars don't talk about that verse. They ignore that. They said there's no proof. There's proof there. Subhanahu wa ta'ala in 60 verse 10, Subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you straight out, don't return these women to the mushrikeen, to non-believers. Cannot. That's one of the evidence there. Cannot. And secondly, you got to remember something. When a Muslim woman marries a non-Muslim man, her religion is not protected because he's the head of the household, especially in the West. She has no footing inside the house. She has no complaints. If she goes to complain, say, look, then divorce him. If he begins to tell her, look, you pray, I don't want to see you pray in front of me. When I go to work, then you pray. You have to obey him. And how about the other matters? These other horror stories that's going on. I'll touch that now. The horror stories that's going on with Muslim women. Since the West has different ideals of sexual things, this Muslimah who came from, say, she came from out from North Africa or she came from West Africa, she's a Muslimah. She knows rules. Now she's married to an American man, a non-Muslim. He demands to have relations with her when she's on her cycle. And we have men that like that. Can you believe this? They like that. Now she's in her bind because we know that this is haram. Big time when she's on her cycle. She's not to be, no sexual contact like this is supposed to happen. I'm talking about sexual penetration because she's unclean. And these men and these non-Muslims demand this. How about the other things that go along with this? That is haram in Islam, but they've been doing it and they expect her to cater to his whims. This is why a Muslim woman should not. And when she has children, she cannot raise those children as Muslims. He won't allow that. So it's forbidden, period. The Subhanahu wa ta'ala is all knowing. And he knows why he forbid our women from marrying these mushrikeen men or these unbelieving men. So it's a haram, cannot do it. Now, here's what the thing too that may bother some of our brothers who like this type of thing. It is held by consensus of our scholars that weak and marginal Muslims marry non-Muslim women. Strong and devout Muslims don't consider it nor do it. This is a fact. 99.9% strong-willed Muslims who follow the Quran and Sunnah have no relationships whatsoever, even in the West, with a non-Muslim woman. Or at work, yeah, he's in his office. His office next to a girl who professes to be a Christian. Ain't talking about that. But he doesn't date her. He doesn't go to lunch with her. He doesn't go do things with her. He doesn't hold secret, intriguing conversations with her. None of that. But the brothers who tend to have weak iman or have been inclined to marry these girls. So my brothers who are thinking of this situation, and you say to yourself, well, hey, I think I want to do this, because you look at it from the sexual point of view. This is a problem, brothers. The consensus of our scholars say that you are a weak Muslim, a marginal Muslim, because you would even dare to get involved in that without looking in the Quran first and talking to scholars, the students of knowledge. This is what they say. So this is something that, we have to be very careful of. And we have to look at this, my brothers and sisters, in a nutshell, of saying we are very protective of our religion. And we believe that our Muslim woman is the best woman on this earth. And we believe there's enough of them. We have the statistics to show there's enough of them that we can find her. Brothers, if you can't find her there in LA, you may have to. I know brothers now in the East Coast, they're finding many Muslim women here in Morocco. Many, especially in the South. Especially in the southern region of Morocco. Many African Americans are marrying Muslims. Have no problem, as I told you, heard me say, here in Morocco, if you're a Black American Muslim, you have no problem finding a wife. I'm telling you, there's no heavy search. There's no, and you trying to figure things. No, you'll be approached most likely. And not only that, if you go to the imam and ask the imam of the masjid, you'll find you have droves of women that will want to marry with you. So there's no problem in that regard. I'd rather see you do that, brother. Rather see you get a girl here or get a girl in the Gambia or Senegal or any Muslim state, and you bring her there. I'd rather see you do that than to try to marry the Christian girl and fall on your butt, and then Yom Kippur, you may get penalized for this. You see what I mean? So this is very, very dangerous. When you marry these girls, these Christian girls, there's a lot of tribulations behind that, and Subhanahu wa Ta'ala doesn't like it. It's best to go marry this Muslimah, marry her. And then maybe later, after you get strong enough and so forth and so on, you and your wife, your Moroccan wife, your Gambian wife, Muslima, a Senegal or Mauritanian wife or Egyptian wife. There's brothers marrying Egyptian girls too. I know that is a fact. I know this, and I'm telling you again, the brothers don't have no problem with the girls there in Egypt, especially in the Said region in the south. They have no problem. I have heritage also there. They have no problem there at all, period. And I know some brothers that married the girls down in the south, in the Said region. You have no problem. It's better for you to do that. You'll get you a Muslimah, and now you have pleased Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. That's important, brothers. So think about your options. As I told you here already, again, go over that. The non-chaste woman among the Jews, Hebrews, Christians are eligible for marriage if they come to Islam prior. Now, if she's Jewish or she's a Christian girl, and say she's been dating for many years, and this happens, some have even been in nightclubs. Some have been out in whoredom for years. And then something happened to them. They go into a mall and they hear the Quran, or they go overseas and they hear the Adhan being played. And we've seen this. They get on YouTube to talk about, and they cry because their prior life. and they went into some country, or they went into Egypt. I've seen this too. They went into Egypt and they heard the dam go off. Something, this haunting, beautiful dam we have. And they're mesmerized by it. And something changes them. They come back to the States and they come to Islam. We've seen this. Now she's eligible for marriage, because when a woman is in this state, then she is now eligible for this. She can, she's now a Muslimah, and so she's okay. And here is something underneath I put here. The Islam erases all sins and transgressions before it, meaning even this sister, she's a Tubab American woman. She was involved. She's an African American woman. She was involved in many sexual misadventures. But then they come to Islam. All that happened before is now erased. You cannot use that against her anymore. It's over. You cannot do that. You must now leave it alone, because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is forgive her. You cannot bring this up. And that's another warning to you, brothers. If you do marry the woman who had these prior situations, when you get mad with her, don't bring up the fact that you knew she was working in a nightclub or in a strip joint or some bar. That's wrong. You can't take her Islam from her. That was Jahiliyyah time. It was in days of ignorance. You cannot use that against her. You must now not forgive her, because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has forgiven her and made her Muslimah. So you have no right to go back into her past and use that against her. If you feel that you may be prone to that, then don't marry with her. See this. So this is another condition, brother, that you must be very, very cognizant of. Now here again, however, Hindus, Buddhists are ineligible irrespective of their chaste. We talked about that, and the proofs, 5 and 5 is the proof, meaning the people of the book are not the Hebrew or the Hindus and the Buddhists. They're not. And the Taoists and so forth, they are not the people of the book, so they're ineligible. However, coming to Islam prior to marriage exempts her from Surah 5, verse 5 requirement, meaning about the people of the book, not chasteness. No, she still must be chaste, but she can't. She's not eligible to marry with a Muslim brother because she come to Islam. Big difference. Okay, big difference. Now, the Western states don't protect Islamic Sharia. This is a problem for our brothers. Why when you marry these girls, why some of our brothers end up in jail over child support things, over other issues that she called the police on him about, or she made up a lie and said that she was being beaten relentlessly, or she was attacked, or she was ravished by her husband, and so forth and so on. And the courts, they stack the courts against you, and we have brothers in jail because of these so-called Christian women. And the Western states don't protect Islamic Sharia. And marrying them in these states is a risky endeavor because, brother, as I said before, what are you going to do when she comes back in the house? You know she's been with a man because she runs straight to the shower. Or you notice in the wash her underwear and stuff are stained, and you understand what I mean. Or in some cases, she smells when she comes in the house. You know the smell where she's been out like that. What can you say? You can say nothing to her because they don't protect the Sharia. It's authorized in America for her to do that. She can go out with any man she wants, even if she's married to you. If she decides to have sexual relations with Bob, she can. You can say nothing. Only thing you can do is divorce her. And if, according to how much long she's been with you, you know what's going to happen to court. They're going to sanction you with money. You know that. So you have to be very careful. And we know some of the Christian girls are now trying to find these Muslim men. Why? Because they know that they want them, And they know these men won't go out on them as a rule. But they still have, remember the Nia? Remember we talked about that in my class, the Nia? But the Nia is to stay a certain amount of time and then go back to the divorce court and then get what she can out from his house or from his salary. It's a deadly racket, brothers and sisters. You know, deadly racket. Our sisters are Muslimah sisters. You have brothers who are impressionable. Please, if you understand what we talk about here today, don't let your brother marry these girls. Don't let them to do this, okay? You talk to them and steer them in the right direction. Protect your brother, our Muslims, who you have a brother that now is deciding he's looking at some non-Muslim woman. And I would tell you should be forceful with him and say, don't do this, Yahya. You may regret this. Why don't you look at Surah 5? Why don't you look at Surah, and we'll get into other ones here in a bit, and these other surahs to help you. So, brothers, please be careful what you do here, okay? Please. Now, here's the other thing that our brothers are doing, which is despicable. They know the law about the chaste woman. They understand that. So what they do is they use the American system to have a concubine. They put her in an apartment. She's a Christian girl. And they have sexual relations with her. My dear brothers, don't try to escape this edict from Allah Ta'ala by taking the aforementioned concubines. We know Muslims are doing this even in India. They'll get a beautiful Hindu girl because now they know that the Islamic trappings is not around her. They put her up somewhere and they go sleep with her 3, 4, 5 times per week. Don't do this. It's haram. You should not do this at all. You're not to keep these women. You cannot. It's forbidden for you to keep these women. You cannot do it, brothers. You cannot do these women. You cannot. You just cannot keep them. So please be mindful of that. Now here's the other one. You brothers who marry the unchaste Jewish woman, unchaste Christian woman, not authorized under Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and you have a child. Under Islamic rules, the child is not recognized. That poor child is not recognized under the Sharia. You see, and you want your child recognized under the Sharia, and it's not recognized. See, so that's another area, my brothers, that you should think about because you're going to have children. And you married an unchaste woman. Yes, she's a Jew or she's a Christian, but she's unchaste when you married her. And now you have a child. And that child is not recognized. This is a sad habitat, but it's happening a lot. Now, I'm going to give you some things here for you to think about. And I concur on this. I concur with Ibn Abbas, rahimahullah, who contends that marriage under the Sharia 5, verse 5 is consummated and should be authorized in Muslim states only. Look what he says here. This is what he said. It's not authorized marriage if consummated outside of it. I concur in many scholars, student knowledge, they like this and they concur with this. Meaning, if you're in Morocco and you decide to marry a Christian girl, even though she's not unchaste, but you can still do it. You decide, but here in Morocco, they'll give you a tough time. You decide you want to marry a Christian girl, they're going to look at you because I'm going to have to be honest with you, my brothers. I don't understand why. If you come here to Morocco and you marry one of these Christian girls, because there's not many Moroccan Christians, less than 1%, or maybe that. Less than even, 0 some percent. The Christian girls we have here come from Europe and America, and most of them are white. Now, why would you want to marry one of those girls? I don't understand it, but we see that, and they have a tough time. And many of our jurists will say you cannot do it. Here in Morocco, they're like that. They won't sanction that marriage. But here in Morocco, we have so many Muslims. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can find what you want in all range of colors and all types of sizes and heights and economic background and educational background. You can find her here, easy. So why would you want to marry a throwback Christian woman that comes here and go through all this? And a lot of times, many have a hard time marrying, especially here in Morocco. But Ibn Abbas, rahimahullah, he said it can be only authorized because here in the Muslim states, the Islamic family law is protected. So she cannot go into the family court and then take the children from him. He cannot, because the courts will award the child to the husband who's a Muslim, because the courts here want the child to be Muslim. In American states, it's the exact opposite. Here, they will protect that. And a woman cannot have custody of her children, cannot. Now, if she's a Muslimah, she can. That's a different situation, because Ali, radiallahu anhu, said about don't get in between the child and between the mother and her child. He said that issue. The Prophet ﷺ also made a comment. He said that the child gives 75% of the love to the mother. But in a situation like there, where you have a Christian woman and you have children, the Moroccan courts here will authorize that man to take the child. There's no doubt. It's over, because they want the child raised as a Christian. I mean, as a Muslim. Here, imams who are sanctioning these marriages without enforcing Quranic laws shouldn't be followed. Yes, brothers, we have them. Those who's authorizing this, don't follow them. Muslim women groups on YouTube, there's a lot of them now, brothers. You got to be very mindful of them. Some of them talk about some things that are just, it's outrageous. And some brothers like to look at the program just so they can get a couple of laughs. I don't like to look at it unless somebody tells me something about what this one sister had said, like this one. They told me, I said, give me the minute, what time they said it. And that's the part I go to. I look at that and I golf, because most of these kind of women groups like this, I don't like that. And women, Muslim groups on YouTube encouraging such marriages are heretical. That's right, in their faith. They are. These women these so-called women scholars and imams, they call themselves, who are on YouTube, many of them, not all, many of them are on YouTube now encouraging such marriages, saying there's no proof that the Quran does not allow it to happen. And I told you months back where this one sister in Facebook, I thought because the way she looked, I thought she was, down with it. Then I saw one day she had this program, and it was beefing up the riba and everything else. And I can see how she was talking to men, and when the men was talking to her, she was having relationships with these kuffar men. And so this stuff is starting to happen quite a lot now, and we have to be very careful of this. And brothers, before you enter into this marriage, seek out proven and reliable scholars and students of knowledge first in order to advise you properly. Okay, you're at college, and you're in your economics class, and you see this very beautiful girl. She's non-Muslim, and you're very much attracted to her, and you're thinking about even asking her for marriage. Before you dive into this, you should seek the advice of a scholar and students of knowledge, the reputable ones, and then get some fatwa or some ruling to help you to make the right decision. Because sometimes we don't do that. We just look at something at face value, you go marry her, and then you have nothing but disaster after that. Islam is our way of life, and marriage constitutes 50% of marriage. This is why the Muslim marriage with the Christian woman, as we said, is rough. Not all, okay, but percentages show that these relationships are bad and they end up in divorce. And I've already talked about some of the conditions that these non-Christian women, the non-Muslim women, what they do to their husbands. And these are no law marriages anymore. This is part of Tha'ot. And this is means the way of evil. And so this is something that we know is going on, and we know that 50% of our faith, it has to do with the marriage. That's why it's important to find the right woman, period, to marry. Islam protects its practitioners. Muslims are engaged in practicing, promoting, and propagation of the religion. To engage in anything outside of that is a threat to it. It is prohibited. Brothers, you marry a non-Christian woman, you've just added a threat to your house, because she's going to be a threat to you and your religion. She'll say, and I've heard this so many times now, so many times. She said, I married you. I didn't marry your religion. I've heard this. I've heard this many times. The same thing. I married you. I did not marry your religion. And now you're trapped in a situation. If you go to divorce her, you've been married to her now 6 years. And can you financially support a divorce? It's very difficult. Because by the time they rack you over the coals, no telling how much child support or spousal support you're going to have to pay. And she may get some things out of your house. You may lose a lot of wealth because of the draconian laws there. So, you have to be very careful here. And you got to remember that. And you cannot promote anything inside your house when you have a Christian woman, because they don't like this. Majority of them, they'll say, hey, look here, I married you because I love you. I don't like your religion. And we also have what's going on too, which is very, very, very sad. We have Muslims married to Christian girls. We now seeing these men going to stores buying wine, beer, pork products for their wives. We see African American Muslim brothers are going to the barbecue joint to buy ribs, pork ribs. We see some of the sisters asking the brothers to go buy pig feet and chitlins. And he do it. Now he has this in his house. See? And so this is why it's dangerous to engage in anything outside of it, and is a threat to it. She is a threat to your way of life as a Muslim. And so that's why you have to be very careful of what you ask for and what you are doing. Generally speaking, the consensus points out that non-Muslim spouses hold traditional views about and against Islam. Again, they have this. One day you didn't talk about this when you were dating with her, when you're out there playing around with her, and you were doing things with her, dating her, and so forth and so on. And you infatuated with her beauty. Then you marry her. And now here it is, here's come the virus, you inside the house with your wife, you guys can't get out. And then she begins to tell you things about what she doesn't like about Islam. Things that are wrong. This has happened to many brothers now who talked about this. Spouses hold traditional views about and against Islam. It's a threat to your iman, brothers. Again, another reason why you should not venture into this area to marry a non-Christian woman. Because when this starts coming out, what you're going to do, she's in your house. You can't hit her. And when she begins to tell you, I don't like this, I won't follow the Sharia. I won't do this. And we even have other situations too that I've heard about these complaints with brothers. The Muslimah is clean because she knows what she must do when she visits the restroom and so forth and so on. She knows she's geared, as a general rule, she's geared into making herself presentable for her husband and making sure she's clean. Many of our Western women are not like that. Many of them don't take the precautions and so forth and so on that our Muslim women do. And what you going to do, brother, when you try to force her to do that, she said, I don't do that. I don't take baths. Because I got my hair and so forth. I don't want to do this. I won't use water after I visit the thing. I have toilet tissue. Okay, you understand, there's a whole myriad of things that they'll say to you, and now you're trapped. And this is why we have to be very careful what we do. This is a major detriment to the marriage, which is why the divorce rate in these cases are astronomical. They are, brothers. The horror stories are coming out from, that these brothers are involved in now, it's off the charts. It's things that I don't even conceive of. And they marry these Christian girls and things they're said to them. And speaking of that, I was talking about the sisters are forced to do things sexually they didn't want to do because they know that Subhanahu wa ta'ala does not authorize that. Same with many of these Christian girls too, and Jewish girls. They'll tell the man they want some things done to them that is not authorized in Islam. What is he going to do? See, and then when she threatens you and say, look, if you don't do what I want, I go out here to Charlie, he'll do this for me. And they do it. So now you're trapped. Now you're already in a haram marriage. Now you're starting to do haram things in the bedroom because she wants these things done. And we have those problems, brothers. They're happening. So now be very mindful of this. Now, the proof of this is Surah 2, verse 120. And I'm trying to see where that's. No, it's not it. Okay. No, it's not it. This is 221. Okay. Well, this is not the verse. Okay, there's another verse, but I want to cover this one anyway. Surah 2, 221 tells you right here. This is the proof that these imams tell you, no, you have no problem. You go marry her, or these women groups, these modern Muslim women groups tell you, no, you can marry a Christian girl. There's nothing saying. Look here. Do not marry polytheistic women. This is what Subhanahu wa ta'ala said until they believe. Okay? Now, again, we said that. If they convert to Islam, okay. And believing slave woman is better than a polytheist. We said this. We see a beautiful girl here. She's a polytheist, okay? She believes in the Trinity. She believes that Jesus, alayhi salatu wasalam, is God. Okay, now, but you have this woman. She may be in a poor area, but she's better than this woman. Even though she might please you, do not marry polytheistic men to your women. Brothers, you in your house, don't you fight. You and your father, pops and you should be fighting if your sister wants to marry with a disbeliever. You should be fighting her. Even though, yes, she's 19, 20 years old, she's a grown woman, but you get after her to prevent her from doing that. And you give her the verses so that way she can be made to understand. Because she may be listening to these women on YouTube who told she can marry this Christian man. But you have to get you and pops to go to her and say, hey, look, sister, we can't do this. You can't go marry this Christian man. Look what it says here in verse in Surah 2, verse 221. It's quite clear. So this is what I'm talking about, that we have to be very mindful of. Here it is here. Here it is here. Verse 2, and there's verse 2, 120. 120. Look what it says here. And never will the Jews or Christians approve of you until you follow their religion. How many we've heard this? We have brothers married and they fight, these Christian girls, Jewish girls fight their Muslim husband to bring him out from Islam, to bring him to become a Jew or Christian. We've had this happen. And we've had brothers out of sheer fantasy leave the religion so they can stay married to their Jewish wives or their Christian wives. This is a shame. Say indeed, the guidance of Allah is the only guidance. If you were to follow their desires after what has come to you of knowledge, you will have against Allah no protection or helper. He will remove his hands from you, brothers. He's going to remove his hand from you. He's telling you this in his verse. If you decide now that she's telling you, look, I don't want you praying in the house anymore. I don't want you praying around the kids anymore. I don't want to see you pray when mom and dad come to the house. I don't want you praying at the masjid until you come home and do your chores first. Then if you wanted to go out, you can go pray. These are things that I hear the brothers telling that's happening to them today. They will not be satisfied until they get you out from Islam. And you see what Subhanahu wa ta'ala knows a human being. He knows them better than we do. And this is why it's forbidden, brothers, for you. Yes, you're authorized to do it, but you shouldn't do it because Subhanahu wa ta'ala has also give you the guide to marry a chaste woman. And chaste women, these women here are not chaste. So just be mindful of that. Please be very mindful of that. Because it's true what Subhanahu wa ta'ala says here. Very, very true. So just be mindful of that. Okay, we're getting close to the end. I know I'm long today, my brothers and sisters, but this is a very important topic. And we talked about this already here, the plethora of Muslim horror stories. We have Muslim women who are crying now because they don't know how to get out of their marriage. They have children. They don't know what to do. They're fearful now because what has happened to them. I know of one case in particular where she was literally abused to the point, sexually abused, the whole gamut. And because of the draconian court systems in America, they were just beaten up. They didn't know what to do. And so these stories are happening. And as we talk about men as well, who are also beat up by the Christian women. Now, again, we're not saying all Christian women are bad. That's not what we said here. We didn't say that. We do have chaste women, but they're very, very far in between. But they're not going to believe in Allah, and they're not going to believe in our Prophet ﷺ. So you can't marry them. So they're still off limits to you. The other factor here, Islam is to lead in the home, not to be subjugated and a follower in it. Brothers, you are the leader of your house. You're a Muslim, but your Christian wife has forbade you from doing certain things and made Islam subjugated. Brother, you are a Muslim. You cannot authorize that. But we have that today. We have our women punking out our Muslim brothers in the house, making Islam down. She decides she's going to fix pork, she do it, even along with your food. And some got to the point where even they say, if you don't eat this, then you go out to eat somewhere. And brothers are eating pork because they have no other choice. They're coming from work, they're tired. So they say, okay, you know what? I'll eat this and Subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive me. No, you won't. You now have just done things. You should not be subjugated. I should say, I don't know if he will or not. Subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. But from what we understand, he is not, because you have a choice in this matter. And you let her dictate, made Islam subjugated inside your home. That's a big, big demerit against you. And the last thing here, Islam assures the wife's freedom of belief in Judaism and Christianity. However, these assurances, so to speak, are not guaranteed for a Muslim husband or a Muslim wife in Christianity or in Judaism. There's no provisions. It's Islam. We do have provisions. You know what it says. we're to protect. If you have a Christian, and especially in a Muslim state, they are protected under the Muslim state. They can practice their faith freely in a Muslim state. No problem. But in the Christian and Jewish confines, it's not easy to practice your faith, isn't it? They don't have such protections. Even though they say they have protection of religion, we know that's not the case. See, so this is a point that has to be made. And again, I have to push this one back up to you again, to the brothers. You cannot allow to have your non-Muslim wife subjugate Islam in the house. I can't stress that more, my brothers. And we're seeing this. Or she orders you to go to go buy pork, especially in the South. I've heard the brothers now running to go buy pig feet and chitlins, and what's the other? I forgot what they call that. I've forgotten. It's been such a long time now. And the brother goes in to do this, and someone even eating it with their wives. You cannot allow this, my brothers. Please don't allow this. So what is this in a nutshell? In a nutshell, brothers, you're authorized, as Surah 5, verse 5 says, if she's chaste. And I gave you the reasons, and now you have the proof from some of the verses in the Quran that you can use. The Muslim woman, is she authorized to marry a non-Muslim man? No. Surah 60, verse 10 tells you there. You cannot marry. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made him prohibited for you to marry. And you brothers who have sisters in the house, and this is a Muslim household. You have pops who's a Muslim, and you, brother, and your sisters over here. You guys cannot go and give her, you cannot give her hand in marriage to these mushrikeen. You cannot. You're forbidden for doing that. You cannot. That verse here tells you, don't surrender your sister to one of these mushrikeen. You cannot do it. I don't care what this guy is. I don't care if he's rich and he can provide for her. Islam is not about money and everything else. The 50% of the religion, we're supposed to protect our religion. This is what I'm talking about. Be very careful and mindful of that. You must protect our sisters as well. So you brothers and pops, hey, men my age and so forth and so on, inside your household, don't give your daughters to these mushrikeen. Now, she's 30 years old. You can only counsel her. She decides to do it. There's nothing you can do about that. But you must put some sanctions on her if she do this. Now, I'm not saying you don't love her anymore. She's not your daughter. I'm not saying that. But you put sanctions on her to show that you're not for this. And remember something. Your relationship is with Subhanahu wa ta'ala first, not with the children. The children is not the first priority in your life. It is pleasing Subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is it. Because when you stand before him, it's not you stand before him on your deeds. You see, you had to be very careful of that. See, so don't let the children be a fitna to you, like he says in the Quran, and just be mindful of that, brothers. So my recommendations to you is this. My brothers, young brothers out there, getting ready to marry this Christian girl or thinking about it, don't do it. That's first, because you have the proof. Don't do this. It's not authorized because they're not chaste. Okay? Secondly, I say that if you're going to do this, you must do this in a Muslim state. Meaning, if you live in a Muslim state and you decide to marry a Christian girl, it is authorized if she's chaste. But if she's not chaste, you cannot. Okay? You cannot marry her, even in a Muslim state. And here in Morocco, they make these marriages very difficult. Very difficult. Because it's not authorized and they don't like it. So be very mindful and careful of that. And thirdly, I say, marry a Muslim woman. And if you decide to marry a Christian girl or a Hindu girl or a Buddhist girl, have her come to Islam first. And that meaning, not in phony and hypocrisy, but that she will practice the faith. If she agrees to this, And she says, okay, because I love you. I want to practice Islam with you. I want to please you. She goes to take the Shahadatain. You marry her. You have to take her on first value. And you have to go by her deeds. Remember what Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu said. What he said, you cannot judge the heart, but you can judge the actions of the heart. So if she's practicing Muslimah now, that's what you go by. You cannot judge what's in her heart. You may think that she's doing it only to please you. You have no way of knowing that, but you only go by the actions. If she's praying, she's taking all the hygienical things. She's taking care of your children. She's raising your children as Muslims. Then, hey, even if you may think what's in her heart, I'll get that out, because her practice, what she's doing in front of you, is that she's showing she's a Muslimah. She's a good Muslim. See? So be careful of that, my brothers and sisters. Be mindful of that. This is my recommendation. And go by these verses here and stay clear of that. This is what I recommend. So with that said, I was long today because this is an important topic. And I will conclude this. And hopefully in a couple of days, I'll have another program on the intentions, which is a very interesting one about the intentions of Islam. And then after that, I'll go back to the tafsir of Surah Fat. So I want our brothers to have sisters to have a variety of things in Islam. A well-rounded Islamic knowledge. That's what you need. This affects many families here, many families, and this is not way out. Should be known, so that way you'll know how to guard yourself against when your brother comes in the house and says he wants to marry the Christian girl, or your sister comes in the house, she says, I want to marry this Christian boy. You'll be armed, you'll be ready, you'll know how to attack this situation, and you can attack it with proof, with bayna. Okay, you can have that. You'll have that, and you give that to her. Okay, my brothers and sisters, thank you for those in the future who may look at this program. And if you like it, please subscribe and hit the button and say that you like the program. And if you have any other questions, I have put my email before. You can ask me questions, and I'll probably put that here in the chat or in the comments section here, inshallah, as well. So with that said, our brothers and sisters, please be mindful of what we talked about today, and be cognizant of what this, be cognizant of this, and practice your faith as Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has ordered, and practice your faith as our prophet practiced it, and don't let anybody change your religion, because this is something that would take you to the fire, and you don't want that. Islam is our religion, and this is what we have to go by. And so with that said, I think I'm overwriting my where you can get a hold of me. Oh yeah, I made a mistake here already. You can get a hold of me here. Okay, yeah, now, yeah, there we go. Yeah, there it is right there. Okay, I put that in the chat for you. So if you have any questions about this subject or any subject, please get a hold of me at this email. Okay, brothers and sisters, thank you for showing up, and those who will show up in the future and view this. If you like it, please spread this to others who may be vulnerable in this area. Help your brothers and sisters out. Give them this bayna, so that way they can make a good, sound Islamic decision if they get ready to marry this Christian girl, or this Christian or a Muslim wants to marry a Christian boy. Then you'll have this information to give, and then you do your research as well. So I'll leave you with beautiful words of Jinnah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.